Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the UGAsports.com Quick Take. I'm your host, Jason Butt, and hey, Georgia 13-0 to end the season, plus the SEC championship. Now the real fun starts. We got a two-game season, essentially. That's what the playoff is. You got four teams. Number one, Georgia, playing number 4, Ohio State, in the Peach Bowl. And then, of course, you have number 2, Michigan, playing number 3, TCU, in the other playoff game. Big time for Georgia to go in and beat LSU 50-30 in the SEC championship. And quite honestly, it didn't start like it was going to end up being a double-digit cover for the Bulldogs. Georgia was a 17.5-point favorite. Hope most of you out there, or all of you for that matter, went with the cover in that one. I know it was a big line, but Georgia was able to get the job done there. And obviously, there were two big plays that helped Georgia, get a cushion there. And the first was one of the smartest plays I've seen from anybody all season long. Christopher Smith, on the blocked field goal. I think everybody thought the ball was just going to die, and that's kind of the smart play there. You don't want to risk anything on the return. You pick the ball up, you fumble, that gives the ball right back to LSU. But as he noticed, the LSU guys were walking off the field. They thought the play was over. He definitely did a good job in noticing what was going on. Nobody on LSU was concerned about the football. And next thing you know, before it sat still enough to where the ref could blow it dead, he picked it up and ran it 96 yards for a touchdown. An absolute game-changing play, considering LSU had all the momentum to start. They go down. They got one first down before they punted. Georgia goes 3 and out. They go down the field on a long drive. Should have or could have, I should say, had 3 points. Georgia special teams stepped up, got the block, and then the return. So all of a sudden, 7-0. LSU then goes down the field, gets a 7 really quickly. You love how Georgia's offense responded. They let Stetson Bennett, who had a marvelous performance in this game, he marches down the field. And next thing you know, LSU, the second big play that changed everything was the interception. I bounced off the helmet. Next thing you know, Georgia's got the ball in a good spot. And then, Stetson Bennett's able to hit Ladd McConkey for a touchdown. Next thing you know, it's 21-7 when you were thinking that LSU was in full control. And credit to LSU because, Georgia did a good job of, getting to Jayden Daniels early. And obviously they ended up getting hurt. And there's the what's going to probably be an iconic photo, with Jalen Carter picking up Daniels and putting up the number 1, kind of like raising his arm in the air and all that. And you're just kind of like, wow, that's, hilariously disrespectful, but great for Georgia. And, Nussmeier, the backup, the coach's kid, he's the quarterback coach for the Cowboys, Nussmeier's dad. And so he comes in and just lights it up. So credit LSU for not quitting, staying in there. They were able to put up 30 points. Georgia's defense, not their finest performance, and kind of reminiscent in a way of the SEC championship last year, except for the fact that Georgia's offense showed up. And to credit Georgia's defense, I mean, that was a heady play as well to get the ball off the helmet. I believe it was Jack Besh's helmet, on the what looked like an incompletion, but instead of it hitting the turf, it hits his helmet, and next thing you know, Georgia's got the pick. But it's the right place, right time. You got to have those instincts to be around the ball to make those turnover plays when they come your way. So you don't want to take anything away from Georgia in that respect. But obviously, the yards and the points, even with that turnover, with the special teams touchdown, Georgia's defense gave up quite a bit of yards. It's and especially when you look at Garrett Nussmeier's performance. He threw for 294 and 2 touchdowns off the bench. Jayden Daniels had 208 and a touchdown. That's 502 yards, 3 touchdowns. From a from a team that Georgia defense, I should say, that doesn't really give up much through the air, really much at all. So 502 yards through the air. It's a bit concerning, especially when you're talking about Ohio State coming to town. It'll be in Atlanta, but this game was in Atlanta too. But with the game being in Atlanta, that's an Ohio State team that they can air it out just as well. The Georgia defense did a good job limiting the run game. Josh Williams only had 55 yards on 6 carries. That said, when they got out 21-7, it was pretty clear what LSU needed to do, and that was go through the air. Not to mention, running up the middle was never going to be a plan. And that's something that Georgia is going to have to look for. I fully expect Ohio State to mimic LSU's game plan. And I think for Georgia, the good thing that they have going into this game is that they have almost a month to prepare. And because this is a high-flying offense where you've got a Heisman contender in C.J. Stroud. You've got Marvin Harrison Jr., who's gone for over 1,000 yards. You have Emeka Egbuka, who's gone for over 1,000 yards, and then Jackson Smith and Jigba. He has a chance to return for this game, and I think if he's back, and who knows if he will be available, but say he is available, that changes everything for Ohio State. That's just another incredibly talented, NFL type weapon that they'll have, and so. This is, I would say, a little bit more concerning than any offense that Georgia has faced. Whether JSN is able to play or not, I mean, even with the other two guys that they got, and just how this offense does, this is better than Tennessee. It's better than what they just. And LSU's receivers were fantastic. I thought they played a phenomenal game, but this is the best offense that Georgia will have faced all season long. Better than Oregon, obviously. So I think Georgia will have its work cut out. And the good thing is they have the time to prepare. Georgia seems to do well when in these situations when they have time to prepare. I say that knowing that they also had the Oklahoma game where they got down big. And then obviously they didn't come out to play against Texas in that one Sugar Bowl. But last year, it set up well, against Michigan. They were locked in and were able to correct everything that they needed to from the SEC championship loss to Alabama. So, that part's going to be in their favor, but they're going to have to scheme up something good for this Ohio State offense because, what they put on the field on Saturday isn't going to really fly when it comes to, when it comes to facing this type of high-flying offense in the Peach Bowl. And I do want to touch on this. I think Georgia being the 1 seed and having to play Ohio State, I think there's an argument that they got the worst draw in the opponent side of things than Michigan did as the 2 seed because, Michigan, they get TCU. TCU's coming off the 3-point loss to Kansas State. I don't want to take anything away from that game. Kansas State, the number 10 team in the country, so it's not a bad loss. And every game this year with TCU has been, tough and kind of coming down to the wire and everything. But if you're going strictly on the eye test, and you can't go strictly on the eye test, don't get me wrong here. But when you look at TCU compared to say Ohio State, I don't know if there's anybody who can rationally say or really make a strong and convincing argument that TCU is the better team than Ohio State based on the body of work. I mean, when you're talking about both teams having just one loss, Ohio State's loss is way better than TCU's loss. And you look at Ohio State and the close games they've played compared to the number of close games TCU's played and kind of thinking through like the quality of opponents when it comes to that. And it's just not the same. Ohio State definitely has the stronger body of work. They just don't have the conference championship because they happen to lose to Michigan in the final game of the regular season, which prevented them from going. And Michigan's the number 2 team in the country. The committee claimed that they didn't have any discussions about not wanting the rematch in the first round. Maybe there's some truth to that. I don't know, but it definitely seems like as the number 1 team Georgia has the tougher opponent in the first round. Now, for Georgia, there's nothing to complain or worry or concern yourself with. I mean, everybody at this stage is good. That's not to say TCU wouldn't put up a good game against Georgia either. I mean, they put up a good game against everybody. I think that's one of the things, though, is that like TCU has played down and up to their competition at times this year. And not to mention, while TCU did lose to Kansas State in the Big 12 championship, that was a rematch game where TCU had already beaten Kansas State by 10 earlier this season. So, it just so happened that Kansas State got them in the rematch. Things like that happen when you play a football game twice. You have that in-game feel in addition to the film and the extra study you're able to put on a specific opponent based on going toe-to-toe with them. So I don't think it's necessarily bad. I just think there's an argument. I just wanted to lay it out there. I think there's an argument to say that Georgia, as the 1 seed, has the tougher matchup than Michigan as the 2 seed. Now, regardless, this should be a fun playoff. I think both games, have the matchups are really unique. When you see what happened to Georgia, they got to be prepared for this Ohio State passing attack. And then, of course, when you look at Michigan and their ability to run the ball, TCU, can they, be stout up front and prevent that? And the heroics of Max Duggan. I mean, that quarterback was phenomenal, in their Big 12 championship game. And quite frankly, they should have won. I mean, I don't know what Sonny Dykes was thinking. I mean, QB sneak it on 3rd and goal at the inch line. I mean, get the running back and the fullback up there behind them and try to push them in. It didn't make any sense to me. And then kick the field goal on 4th down because you cannot come away with no points in that situation. Absolutely, especially with the way the defense had been playing in the 4th quarter. So that's just me. But hey, it didn't matter at the end of the day. They stayed at 3. They're playing in the college football playoff, and this should be a fun one. So hey, for everybody watching this, that's rooting for Georgia, enjoy the next 28 days as we continue to talk through all the big stories with Georgia football and whatnot, and just enjoy this downtime before things ramp back up on New Year's Eve. So hey, thanks so much for tuning in. If you haven't, please mash the subscribe button, do all that good stuff. Go to the UGAsports.com dog vent and subscribe there too. The best community for UGA sports on the World Wide Web. Thank you again. You guys have been awesome, and I have been Jason Butt. Y'all take care.